Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be showing you some of my beautiful editions of classics. So this is a video I've been meaning to make for a little while. I now have quite a few Folio Society editions of books, by which I mean me and my husband Nick have quite a few Folio Society editions of books. Some of them are his, some of them are mine, some of them are ours jointly, I suppose. I really like Folio Society editions of books. I think they're really nice. Some of the ones we have are new, that we've, given each other as presents or that kind of thing, and some of the ones we have are old Folio Society editions from the 70s, 80s, 90s, that we have found in charity shops or elsewhere. So I thought it might be fun to show you the Folio Society editions that we have. And then I thought that actually I do have a few other like nice fancy special hardback editions of books that it would be nice to show as well. So I thought I would just do like a general beautiful classics / illustrated classics video. So I thought I would do this video in victober because most of them are Victorian, but some of them are not Victorian. So this is like a victober adjacent video, I guess, because maybe 2/3 of the books will be Victorian, but quite a few of them won't be. So I think I'm going to stop talking like directly to the camera, and I will set up the camera kind of bird's eye view on some books, because as I said, a lot of these editions are sort of illustrated, and then I will talk over the top, and you can hear what I have to say about them. Anyway, hopefully this will be a fun video, and I will get cracking. So I think I'm going to start off with this very beautiful edition of Lady Susan from SP Books. Lady Susan is a epistolary novella by Jane Austen, a real favourite of mine, and although we know Jane Austen wrote it probably in the very early 1800s, it wasn't actually published until the 1870s, long after her death. So it was actually first published during the Victorian period, which is kind of fun. So this is a very beautiful edition I have from SP Books. This is a manuscript edition, so let me show you what it looks like. As you can see, this is a print of the original manuscript. So this is Jane Austen's handwriting. This is how she wrote it out. You can see all the different letters that make up this novel. So SP Books actually very kindly sent me this book many years ago now, and I think it's just beautiful. I love Lady Susan. As I said, it's a real favourite of mine. I think it's very, very underrated and a really wonderful work by Jane Austen. SP Books have actually very kindly given me a discount code. So if anybody is interested in one of these very beautiful SP manuscript editions, then if you use the code 7SVVZEA4, all capitals, I'll put it up on the screen because that's just a series of numbers and letters and very hard to remember. But if you use that code, there is a 5% discount for the first 100 customers. They have lots of different books available. I'll leave their website down below. This is the only one that I own, but I do really love it, and it is a very, very special book. Then while we're on the subject of manuscript editions, I wanted to show you this lovely edition of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is a beautiful edition that I absolutely love, and a bit like the Lady Susan edition, it has manuscript stuff in, so very, very beautiful opening. Once we get past the foreword and the introduction, then you can see that we have Dickens's original manuscript side by side with each page, which is very, very cool. Dickens, as you can see, was a much messier writer than Jane Austen, although I think we do know that that manuscript of Lady Susan that is preserved is like her neat writing out of it. Her original manuscript maybe was a lot messier, but this is the kind of thing Dickens used to give to the printers. Like, we know he would give to his publishers and to the printers this kind of chaos, which makes me feel better about my very messy handwriting. But as an editor, I'm very glad that the books I edit are all typed in Microsoft Word rather than like this. It's really, really lovely to see Dickens's original manuscript. It's such a beautiful edition. I really, really love it a lot. While we're on A Christmas Carol, I did want to talk about this book as well. So this is another edition of A Christmas Carol, and this is one of the Wordsworth Classics collector's editions. This was a Christmas present from some friends, actually from the same friends who gave me the other very beautiful edition of A Christmas Carol several years before. And it was from an artist who does like specialist painted edges, so you can see the very, very beautiful like painted edges here. It's also just a very nice edition in general, and has some illustrations in as well, which I really like. And then let's stick with Charles Dickens, because I have one other like miscellaneous nice Dickens edition, and that is this. So Nick actually found this for sale on like a market stall and bought it for me. And we initially thought it was a Folio Society edition, but it is not. It's an edition from the Heritage Press, who I think were basically like an American Folio Society kind of thing. And it's a really, really stunning edition of Our Mutual Friend, which, if you don't know, is my favourite book of all time. Wonderful Dickens novel. And it's got all these amazing illustrations. So every chapter has like a little illustration like this, and they're all absolutely stunning, especially for like the ones of the buildings are really, really beautiful. Yeah, and look, even when there's a card, it's like set out, which is really cool. As well as these, they also are some really beautiful full page illustrations, the kind you get in Folio Society edition. I think these are really, really beautiful. They're very like stylized and specific, but I feel like they work so well. I love that one. That one is so great. I think this book is probably from 1957. It's difficult to tell whether this is the original edition or whether this was a reprint, but it probably is from the 50s, maybe the early 60s. And yeah, as I said, it is really, really stunning and very, very cool. And yeah, very, very exciting to have this edition. I love it a lot. And then I also wanted to show this edition of Peter Pan. So this is one of the illustrated interactive children's classics editions. So this is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, and it's really, really cool. This was a present from a friend years ago, and I just really, really enjoy its illustration style. Like, it's really, really fun and pretty and whimsical. Just look, it's so beautiful. And it also has these like full page things and kind of like interactive elements throughout. Let me see if I can find one for you. So pretty. Yeah, so you can see here, like, you can spin this and so on. And it just, in general, is really, really fun and very, very beautiful throughout. And they do quite a few of these editions, I think. This is the only one I have, but I believe there is a Beauty and the Beast, a Little Mermaid one. Like, they have quite a few children's classics and fairy tales and things like that. Maybe there's a Secret Garden one. And yeah, in general, I just think they are really, really cool. And I really, really love this edition of Peter Pan. Very, very beautiful. So those are all my like miscellaneous fancy editions of classics, and then we also have quite a few Folio Society editions. I really like the Folio Society in general. I feel like they do really beautiful collector's editions. Some of them are very expensive, some are much less expensive. It tends to depend whether they're like a limited edition or not, but also the Folio Society has been going for a long time, and you can often find old Folio Society editions from the 80s, 90s in charity shops for not very much. That's in the UK, obviously. I have no idea how hard they are to find elsewhere. But I really like them. I think they're really cool, and they often have really lovely illustrations. So let me take you through the Folio Society editions that we have. So I'll start off with the three that are anthologies, and then we'll move on to the individual authors. So this here is the first Folio Society I ever owned. This is the Folio Anthology of Poetry. Nick gave me this book many, many years ago. I really love this edition. I think it's really, really lovely, and it contains a lot of different poetry by a lot of different writers from throughout history. I have read them all, but quite a long time ago now, and it has some like illustrations throughout as well, which are really lovely. They're kind of just simple and really nicely done. It's just a really lovely, really striking edition. I'm not sure if this was a sensible blanket to choose to have as my background for this video, but I do kind of love that you can see like the faint outline of a book after it's been there. Anyway, the next anthology I have is this. This is the Folio Book of Great Short Stories, and this is, yeah, a collection of short stories, as it says, with really beautiful illustrations in. I read this last year and I liked a lot of the stories. The illustrations are really, really beautiful and stunning. Yeah, the illustrations are really, really striking. In general, I don't know how much I rated the collection. Like, I thought most of the stories were good, but I feel like it wasn't a very varied collection, if that makes sense. But I am still glad that I read it, and it is a beautiful edition to own. Then the other anthology I have is this. This is The Lifted Veil, Women's 19th Century Short Stories, with various stories in. You can see I've tabbed a few things of the stories that I've yet to read and kind of when they're from. I'm hoping to read some of the Victorian stories in here in victober, but this is a really, really beautiful edition. I love the illustrations so much. I mean, the outside is stunning as well. The illustrations are just really, really beautiful, and it's just a really lovely edition. Like, in general, I do think the Folio Society always really nice editions, like the typesetting and everything is always really lovely. I actually got this book from Charles Heathcote. I'll leave his booktube channel down below, but he works in a charity shop, and they had this for a really long time and nobody wanted it, so he asked if I did, and I said yes please, and it is beautiful, and I'm looking forward to hopefully finishing reading all the stories in here by the end of the year. And then I have one Folio Society edition of an Austen novel. I have the Folio Society edition of Mansfield Park, and this was a present from Nick, and it's really, really beautiful. Look at this amazing edition. It's so stunning. I love it so much. Yeah, and I love Mansfield Park a lot, and I do feel like it's very underrated in comparison to Pride and Prejudice, for example, which is my other favourite Jane Austen, so I always feel like, although I think Pride and Prejudice is my favourite, like Mansfield Park has an extra special place in my heart just because I feel like it doesn't get enough love, and I love it a lot. This edition is really beautiful, as you can see, and it's so stunning to look at. I just love that front cover as well. I think it's so beautiful. Okay, we're going to move on to some Brontes. So first off, I want to show you, I actually have a full collection of the Bronte sisters books from, let's see when they're from actually. They are really beautiful, lovely Folio Society editions. And these are from the 1990s. So these were actually given to me by my childhood next door neighbours who really loved the Brontes and knew that I loved the Brontes, and so gave me this collection when they were doing some clearing, which was very, very kind. So here we have, I've just picked out at random Agnes Grey, and it's got lots of pretty illustrations in. It's really, really lovely. Let me pick one more from the set to show you. I won't show you all of them. Maybe let's go for the Tenant of Wildfire Hall, because I have some more things from Charlotte and Emily Bronte to show you in a second, but not from Anne. So the Tis edition of Tenant of Wildfire Hall is really lovely too, and has got some lovely illustrations in it as well. Such a great book, Tenant of Wildfire Hall. And yeah, I really love this edition, and it's very, very exciting to have, yeah, a whole set of all of the Bronte's books. And it's all in this like beautiful casing. And yeah, it's just really, really cool to own. And then I have two modern Bronte editions to show you. So here we have Jane Eyre, and this is a really, really stunning edition. I mean, just look at like the outside is so beautiful. This was a present as well, and it's so lovely. I feel like the illustrations in here are absolutely stunning. I mean, just look at that. I really love, in general, the Folio Society editions tend to have like really stylized illustrations that are very like bold, and I feel like in general that works really well. I love this one. This is probably my favourite illustration here. I think it's really, really lovely. And then I also have a Folio Society edition of Wuthering Heights, which again is really, really stunning. I mean, yeah, I just love like the outside casing as well as the illustrations inside. It's very, very beautiful. It's such a nice edition, this. Really, really lovely. Look at that. So very Wuthering Heights. I feel like maybe this is my favourite one. I feel like the illustrations in here are so perfect and so capture like the general creepiness and atmosphere of Wuthering Heights, that I feel like this has to be one of my absolute favourite editions that I own. It's so beautiful, and I love it so much. And then I also have one Wilkie Collins book. I have a very beautiful Folio Society edition of The Moonstone. This was a present from Nick, and it is very, very beautiful indeed. I mean, look at this absolutely stunning cover. Oh, I love it so much. And the back is really, really beautiful too. And oh, I haven't even shown you the outer casing has like an illustration on, and it takes you like a moment to make sense of what you're seeing, because it's mostly like just gold splash, but actually it is a scene for the book, and it's really cool. And yeah, the edition itself is really, really beautiful with, yeah, wonderful illustrations and lovely typesetting throughout. Very, very beautiful illustration. So, so nice. And again, like, I just really, really love the illustration style in this edition of The Moonstone. I think it's really, really cool. It's really, really pretty. I really love this edition so much. Then I only have one Dickens Folio Society, but it is a very, very beautiful one, and it is Of Our Mutual Friend, which is, as I've already said in this video, my favourite book of all time. This we found in a second-hand bookshop while we were on holiday elsewhere in the UK, and I couldn't resist buying it because, you know, it's Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. So this is a slightly older Folio Society edition. It's not a new one. I think it is from, yeah, the introduction is copyright 2005, so I assume this was printed in 2005. They don't usually do that many print runs of it. And yeah, it's a really beautiful edition. It's got like the original illustrations in, which is always very lovely because Dickens' original illustrations are really cool. It's so nicely done, and it's such a lovely edition to have. I was so excited when I found this in a secondhand bookshop because I just love it a lot. Also, it's such a nice edition, like the quarter binding and everything, and it's got a ribbon, the top edge is gold. It's just very, very lovely to have. Then for the next two, we're moving away from the Victorian period. These are two that I gave Nick as presents. So this is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald in a really lovely fun case, and I just love that cover. It's so beautiful. I love this edition so much. I think it's really, really lovely. Very, very pretty, excellent illustrations. Look at that illustration. So good. What a great illustration that is. Love that one a lot. And then an edition of The Night Before Christmas by Clement Moore, I think, which is very, very beautiful. This is such a lovely edition. Very heavily illustrated, obviously, because it's just a very short poem, I guess. Yeah, it is a poem. But yeah, I love the illustrations in here so much. I think it's so beautiful. Such a lovely, lovely edition. So yes, very nice book to have as well. And then I've saved Anthony Trollope to the end, but I have 4 Folio Society editions of Anthony Trollope books, all of which I got secondhand in charity shops or secondhand bookshops, and all of which are slightly older editions. So let's start off with The Way We Live Now. The Way We Live Now is possibly my favourite Anthony Trollope book, joint with another book I'm about to talk about, and this is a very nice edition. So yeah, this one is from the 90s. Got a few illustrations in. That doesn't feel very Victorian in style at all, does it? But there we go. Yeah, just really beautifully designed and illustrated throughout. It looks lovely. I love The Way We Live Now so much, and it's lovely to have a beautiful edition of it because, yeah, it's one of my favourite books of all time. And then in a very similar edition, so I presume from a similar time, I have The Belton Estate by Anthony Trollope. Lovely green colour. And this is from 1991. And The Belton Estate I was so excited to find because this book is pretty much out of print nowadays. It's very beautiful. Again, lovely illustrations throughout, really nicely typeset, and just very, very nice to have. As I've been talking, I've realised that I don't actually have 4 Anthony Trollope Folio Society editions. I actually have 5. I have a short story collection that's sitting on my TBR shelf that I forgot to take off for this video. So let's talk about that one next. So here is the short story collection I have, which is the 2 Heroines of Plumpington and Other Stories. I got this one in a secondhand bookshop and it wasn't with its slipcase, but it is another lovely Anthony Trollope edition. This one is from 1981. With nice illustrations in, and it's got a few different short stories in here, some of which I've read, some of which I haven't. So I have read The 2 Heroines of Plumpington, haven't read Why Frau Frohman Raised Her Prices, haven't read these ones, but I have read Christmas at Thompson Hall, so I need to read the rest of these short stories at some point. And yeah, this is another lovely edition, just really lovely to have Anthony Trollope in print because he wrote so much and so many of his books are really hard to find in print. So basically, if I see a Folio Society edition of an Anthony Trollope book in a charity shop, I find it really hard to resist them because I know how hard it is to get like nice paperback of a lot of Anthony Trollope books, let alone nice hardback. He wrote so many books and so many of them have gone out of print. But yeah, this is a lovely edition to have. And then finally, I also have 2 lovely Folio Society editions of the last 2 books of the Chronicles of Barsetshire. So here we have The Small House at Allington and The Last Chronicle of Barset. The Chronicles of Barsetshire by Anthony Trollope is probably my favourite book series of all time. Like, I love those books so much. The Small House at Allington is my other favourite Anthony Trollope novel, side by side with The Way We Live Now, and the whole series is amazing. Like, yeah, I think probably my favourite book series ever. And I have found the last 2 of the series in bookshops in this edition. Like, you know, they match, you can see from the spine, and it was really exciting to find these 2, and I really want to try and find the rest. Like, I'm definitely keeping a lookout for the first 4 books in the series in these editions because it would be lovely to have the whole series in these beautiful editions. So let's take a look at The Small House at Allington first, because that is book 5 in the series. I mean, look, it's so pretty, and look, there's a map of Barsetshire. I found this one first in a shop, and I just opened it and looked at the map, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's a map of Barsetshire. Here's Barchester and his Framley Court, you know, near Framley Parsonage. Like this way is to Guestwick and Allington, and here's Silverbridge, and it's just absolutely lovely. Like the Chronicles of Barsetshire is this amazing 6-book interconnected series all set in the same county, and I love Barsetshire, like as a place and as a setting. I love it, and it's so fun to have a book that has like the map of this place in like it's real. It's so cool. And yes, this edition is from 1979, and it's got lovely illustrations throughout. It's really nicely typeset, and the little like line illustrations are so pretty and lovely. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to own this because it's such a wonderful book. And yeah, I'm very excited that I have this edition. It's so very nice. And then I also, as I said, have an edition of The Last Chronicle of Barset. You can see how lovely they look side by side. I assume that the whole series are in different colours, or maybe they alternate, I don't know. Hopefully I'll find them at some point. But yeah, The Last Chronicle of Barset is another very beautiful book. Again, we have the map in the front, which is so cool to have, and like lots of illustrations. So this one came out in 1980, so actually the year after, which I guess makes sense because it's the book after in the series. They must have been releasing them slowly over a couple of years, I guess. And again, it's got these lovely like little line illustrations in, and it's just so lovely to own this. It's so pretty, and I'm very excited that I have it. And yeah, I really do want to try and find more in this series if I can, because it's so nice to own these in the nice Folio Society editions from the like 70s. They're just so pretty. I don't actually think this one has its original slipcase, because I think its original slipcase was probably red via the same book edition, but the slipcase of this one is slightly higher and there's a bit of space. But that's okay. I feel like it's probably harder to find them with their original slipcase. So there we go. Those are some of the beautiful classic editions on my shelf. As I said, I'll link down below everything about the SP Books discount code. Do let me know if you have any really nice editions of classics that you like, that you collect, or you want to collect. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.